Pregame.com.
Utah State plus 7.5 at BYU. Friday night football. Who do you like?
I like the under in this game, and this is simple. This BYU offense can't get out of their own way right now. Heaps just having a horrible season so far. Defensively, BYU's been stellar. They've held Mississippi, Texas, and Central Florida to 17 or less points. The only team that was able to score on them was Utah. They put up 54, but BYU had 7 turnovers.
Okay, so on one side we've got BYU offense is struggling, and we've got that their defense has been stout for the most part. What do you see on the Utah State side? Now, we got an over a touchdown dog here.
We've got over a touchdown dog, and this is what I like to refer to, RJ, as a one-way rivalry. You know, BYU and Utah State, obviously they're both in the state of Utah. It's not a big game for BYU like BYU-Utah is. But for Utah State, they're playing Big Brother. You know, this is the big gun. It's like whenever the Ohio teams play Ohio
Understood,
State.
but maybe this year's an exception, right? Because who won the game last year?
It is a revenge game from last year.
And
There's no question.
Revenge is a word that gets thrown around a lot. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's been like 20 plus years since Utah State had won, if I'm not mistaken. So you've got a very special kind of revenge. Big Brother just got beat in the backyard in the basketball court, and now it's the next game.
Which, again, the strength of Utah State is their rushing game. The strength of this BYU defense is that front seven. You're going to have strength go, you know.
But let's be clear. You expect there to be a tip-top national TV, true revenge. I expect a max performance from BYU.
Absolutely.
Which helps the under.
Which helps the under. And the thing is with this game, it's sitting at 7.5. There was a big line move in this game.
All right, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about that in overtime. Well, first of all, the game opened up at 12.5, went to 7.5. What we're going to do is get your pick out, and for those that want to dig a little bit deeper, we're going to be talking about how do you handle such a drastic line move as a player. Any other points that push you towards the under?
I don't. This is just one of those fundamental ones where you're going to have the running game. And like I said, Utah State, not only does Utah State want to run the ball because that's their meat and potatoes, their bread and butter, so to speak, but it shortens the game. And when you're a road underdog, you want to shorten the game, you know, it increases your...
They've done well in that spot. They've covered 16 of 21 as a road dog, which, you know, makes me want to lean that way, but I hate playing against the big move. I like the under. The only thing that concerns me is BYU's only averaged 68 yards rushing per game. Is this a team that just is a passing team? And if so, that whole shorten the game thing goes out the window.
But they haven't been able to get the passing game going. Heap's just been not good this year.
And plus, you've got a primetime game has the public more involved, which means their bias towards the over is exerted with a little bit more oomph. So I think you're getting a point of premium that way. Give us your official pick.
My official pick is under the total of 51. My projected score is 24-16 BYU.
Which camera were you just looking at? Like, it looked like you were looking between the two, like you were hedging.
You know, well, sometimes you hedge a bet in Vegas.
All right, guys, so what we're going to do now, you've got the pick. We're going into overtime. This is where we dig a little bit deeper. If you only care about the picks, you can move on to the next video at pregame.tv. All right, opened up at 12.5, all the way down to 7.5. So first thing is we know where the wise guys are. No debate about that. The second question is, how do you handle this move? I've got my approach. What do you have any thoughts to start with?
Well, again, you got to go back to your handicap, where you have this game at, and what you're putting a number at. To me,
I guess. See, all right. I wish I had a buzzer. That answer can apply to everything. Is if it just comes down to what is your number, what is the current number. But you are the one that talks day and night about track games. This game's too sweet. So clearly it's not that when you have a trap game, you don't handicap the game where it's 3 points the other way. You're playing because you think Vegas the bookmakers, the market knows something that you don't. You're a great handicapper, but you can't know everything, right? That's the theory behind trap games. Isn't that going to be the same theory on looking at line moves? When there's a drastic line move, don't you have to question, if you had this game handicapped at 13, all right? Mm-hmm. Are you anxious right now to play BYU laying 7.5?
No, I'm not.
So it's not just the number.
It's not just the number. But see, for me, when it's this drastic of a line move, it's got to depend where I'm at. There's no circumstance am I going to be on BYU.
You want to start over?
No, because I'm not going to be on BYU because I am going to respect this big of a move. But
so it's not just the number.
It's not just the number. But where it goes differently for me is if I like Utah State, and I have the line moving against me, that's when I factor the number in. Is if I still have a number that I can live with, that I feel that there's value.
Right, so here's interesting. You're saying if the move agrees with your handicap, then that affirms to you the question is there enough value left?
Correct, exactly.
If the move is against your number, then that's something that you're thinking, they know something I don't, I'm staying off of
when
it
it's this
for the most part.
When it's this drastic.
In college football, what's drastic?
Well, college football,
key numbers matter.
Key numbers matter, but to me, drastic. If you're if there's going to be a move that's more than 3 points, or it can be 1.5 if it's a key number. The big key numbers for me, obviously, is if a game goes from 7.5 to 6.5, because that's a big move. It puts you right in the middle of a very middleable number.
3, 7, right. 10,
so
14,
the 3.5s to 2.5s and the 6.5s to 7.5s, those are the ones that are going to garner the most attention from me respect-wise, where I don't want to be stepping in front of it.
That's an interesting question, because let's just say, let's talk NFL, because I understand the value of each number a little bit better. 3 is worth 23 cents, okay? So if you have a move on or off of 3, and then let's say you had a move from 16.5 to 14.5, and let's just say for the sake of argument that was 23 cents. Are you going to look at the half-point move off of 3, which is really 23 cents, is more important than, let's say, a 2-point move that's also worth 23 cents?
Again, what numbers were those 2 points at? Because there are dead numbers.
Well, there's no such thing as a dead number. Every number is worth something. They have a value. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, usually a quote-unquote dead number in the NFL is worth about 4 points. Okay? So let's just say you had a big move through dead numbers that was worth 23 cents, whatever those numbers are. Or you had a move from 3 to 3.5, which is worth 23 cents. Do you look at those as equal?
No. I'm just not, It's tough to.
I think I hear what you're saying is. I think what I hear you saying is that there's a psychology around a number like 3, and the bookmakers' disinclination to come off of that is so extreme that it's more of a statement when they do.
Absolutely, and to me, when where I do that inclination is more off the opening numbers. When they come out and set that number and say, "Here's our number, come bring us your business." That's where I really look at, because to me, that's their first opinion. And that's where they're saying, in their mind, they think this number is going to...
But really, it's one book's first opinion, right?
Correct.
Because, I mean, what we've been seeing, and we've been talking about this, Johnny Avello's opening up the numbers at the Win first in college, and they've been moving 4, 5, 6 points. So clearly, in some instances, the market's disagreeing with those opens severely. Do you pay a ton of credence to those opens, even if they move 5 points?
I look more, me personally, in my handicap, I use Chris's opener for my starting point.
Okay, but it's not the opener.
Well, I want to use one book for consistency, and that's the book that I use across the line, because you can't go to every book, because some people put up numbers on certain games before other people put it up.
I agree. If you need a shortcut, to saying what's probably an early number, Chris is a great book to do that. I agree. I also think the whole idea of these win numbers, you hear like Brian Leonard's been talking, they take a dime a game, he's saying, is that even a real number? Well, I guess the question is, how much is Chris opening different than wherever that win number settles when Chris opens up? Let's just say win opens up an hour before Chris. You know, how different is that Chris number? Because if not, if the number's significantly different, then that win number isn't being respected. So it's a very subtle and interesting thing. Here's the way, real quick to wrap, here's the way I handle a big line move. I pretty much always pass the game, because here's why. I think if I was forced to bet every big line move, I would fade it, because there's an echo effect of the followers. So whatever the 12.5, at a certain point they bet it, they bet it, they bet it. At a certain point, the true wise guys say, we got enough. Exactly. We got our fill.
It's the piggyback effect.
And then what happens is there's usually an echo effect where that line is going to move another 1.5 with the followers. Mm-hmm. Now, at that point, I'm not super anxious to be laying 110 a 1.5 away from when the wise guys were still betting it.
Right.
Right? But I'm also not anxious to be laying 110 a 1.5 away from where the wise guys betting it, but betting the same side. So I think that the very fact of the echo makes me rather fade it just a little bit. But I think neither are likely a winner at 110. If a game's been touched up that much, it's usually a pass for me.
And psychologically, if you like Utah State, it's like, now how can you go to the window and bet Utah State plus 7.5 when you know that there was 12.5s out there?
Except you just made the point. If you like Utah State and you think this line is really 4, you're betting it.
You're betting it, but it's still like, you know, do you like to go to a store if you really like a certain food and the other store has it cheaper? Are you going to pay it because you're really hungry for it when you can go to the other store and get it cheaper?
No comment. All right, guys, that was overtime. You got Marco's pick. We're going to be back with Marco's best bet in Saturday college football.